distinct honor and privilege this morning to welcome you to the 11th Caribbean Conference on Comprehensive Disaster Management, organized by the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SDEMA, and co-hosted by the government of St. Martin. The theme of this year's conference is the Road to Resilience Checkpoint 2019. This, I must add, is the first time that St. Martin has the privilege and the pleasure to host this prestigious conference. And this is a hallmark and a stepping stone towards the country's path to becoming an associate member of SDEMA.
A great big welcome to all of the delegates from the 18 countries that have come to St. Martin's shores 2 years post-Hurricane Irma and Maria, after the devastation we have faced. It is with great pleasure because yesterday we celebrated as a government of St. Martin the 20th year of celebrating our Thanksgiving, the end of the hurricane season. For the past 20 years, we have been doing so, whether we've been hit by hurricanes or not. And the theme of that was that God is good. He's always good. And his mercies endure forever. So whether we are facing perilous times or in good times, we give him praise, we give him thanks, we give him all the glory. And that's why even though you might wonder as to why we would have an invocation at such a ceremony, we always invoke the will of God in our ceremonies here on St. Martin. It is basically part of our culture. I would like to thank SDEMA for accepting that St. Martin will be organizing together with them the 11th CDM conference. The 18 participating states are truly welcome, and I'm hoping that based on the agenda that I've seen and heard, that the actions coming forward will benefit this entire region and create bridges that will last for a lifetime between the Caribbean and the rest of the world. The local coordinators, Emilia Thomas Connor, Rodney Richardson, Paul Martins, Clive Richardson, and many others who have helped to work together with Andrea Grosvenor and her team to bring SDEMA to St. Martin. I am truly grateful on behalf of the government of St. Martin. Resilience is the process of adapting well in the face of adversity. It means bouncing back from difficult experiences. Research has shown that resilience is ordinary, not extraordinary. People commonly demonstrate resilience, and that can be demonstrated and visualized in how St. Martin bounced back after 2017, being hit by 2 hurricanes of Category 5 plus. As far as we're concerned, it was Category 7. Many do not know or cannot imagine how some people felt the lack of communication on the island to the outside world, unknowing as to where our other partners stood within the region and how quickly help would get here. We can prepare, but the individual human being, the resilience within that one person can make the difference in the recovery. And that is why St. Martin can still stand today, even though we can all look back and say we were ill prepared for the devastation that hit back in September of 2017. From these conferences, we hope that we can grow and be better prepared, not just in advance of the storm, but in direct actions after the storm. In direct recovery and resilience projects that do not see the delays that can take place due to procurement processes. Procurement processes are actually necessary, yes, but after a storm of the massive devastation that we see, we must be able to fast track such processes to get the recovery going at a much faster pace. Thank God for the beautiful location that God has granted St. Martin, that the humans, the businesses, the communities, the individual people, and of course the immediate emergency help to get us back where we are today. We are still a far way off from full recovery, and the most vulnerable in our society continue to struggle. However, plans coming out of these types of conferences and future conferences, working visits and collaborations will see improvements in these areas, not just for Sweet St. Martin, but for the entire region and thereby benefit the world. Mr. Baptiste, in his prayer this morning, talked about the different types of devastation. That's only a drop in the bucket. Pandemic-type devastations can also wreak havoc, especially on a country like St. Martin that sees cruise tourism and having over 2 million passengers passing through our shores just for the day. Any disease can be dropped off. How do we handle those? Those can also be disasters. And that's why I'm very happy that not only Caribbean contributors, but contributors from around the world will be assisting in making this conference a success. I myself will also be participating on Friday with some of the other ministers here present. And so I look forward to making my contribution. Before leaving the podium here today, as I mentioned to some of my colleagues, duty does call, and when Parliament of St. Martin calls, ministers have to answer. And it is also very, very important topics that I'm being called to Parliament for in the recovery and rebuilding of our airport, which serves as a hub function for also other countries and islands in our close proximity. We must secure the funding for that, and for that I must ask your indulgence that you will be excusing me in a few minutes. But before leaving, I must say a special, special welcome as a former educator, as a mother, as a youth activist. I would like to say welcome, a great big welcome to all the youth delegates who are here to discourse, have their voices be heard, and contribute to the plans of disaster planning and management moving forward in how we can help our communities to rebuild with resiliency and strength. Without the voice of the youth, all plans made here would be for naught. So I applaud Sidema in involving the youth in these conference discussions, dialogue, and action plans. Thank you very much to all who are in attendance. May this conference yield all that it is expected to yield tenfold. Welcome to St. Martin.
There's a reason you get up on a morning. A reason you pick yourself up, start the day. Maybe it's sheer grit. Maybe it's your ethics. Maybe it's because you know people like you are waiting for people just like you. We all have our reasons, and for Republic Bank, that reason is you. Every little thing, every big thing. It's all about making a difference in your life. Because after 182 years, if it's one thing we're sure about, is that the difference is you. We're here to help.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
I am indeed excited at the historic first staging of the CDM conference, Caribbean Conference for Comprehensive Disaster Risk Management, here in St. Martin. It's a historic moment because we've never, since the inception of the conference, been hosted in an overseas territory. But I'm also excited by the prospects that hosting here in St. Martin has also brought to the conference. We've seen many firsts when we look at the diversity of participation. We have with us Cayman, we have Bermuda, we have the Dutch overseas territories. We have a wider diversity in terms of the actors, both at state level and sectoral level, participating with us at this year's conference. We have the largest delegation of local government representatives representing their municipalities here at the conference, and I don't want to say the countries, though I will, because it might seem biased, but the representation is coming out of Jamaica, which is also going to be the staging of next year's regional platform for disaster risk reduction. Another historic first for the Caribbean. So the Caribbean is going to be hosting the regional platform for disaster risk reduction for the first time in the history. Is this me, Paul? For the first time in the history of the event in the Caribbean. So we're having the event here in St. Martin at a very, very important juncture. A juncture where the region itself is maturing in the delivery of the agenda towards resilience, but also as we embark on another journey towards advancing a regional resilience agenda occasioned on the outcomes of the 2017 event. But even as we sit this week to deliberate, we have to spare a thought to those families in the islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama who were impacted by Hurricane Dorian and are also themselves caught up in the throes of recovery. We say we are resilient people, but that does not negate the fact that these events do set back our communities, or people, or ambitions towards development. And so we have to spare a thought for these individuals as they go through their particular journey to recover. As I said before, the region is maturing. We've been at this business for quite some time. We can go back to the 70s when we started our formal arrangements around disaster reduction. But I think if we want to look at a landmark moment, then we have to reflect on the birth of comprehensive disaster management within the region, which was in 2001. We're now at 2019, and we have made significant advances, and some of us may doubt that we have done so, but all of the evidence, all of the empirical evidence we've been tracking suggests that as a region, we are advancing, we're indeed advancing. But the question weighing on our minds must be today, if we're advancing, why do we see the sort of losses? Why do we see the impact we've seen in 2017 here in St. Martin, in Dominica, in the BVI? Why have we seen the losses that we have seen in the Bahamas, those two islands we spoke of as a result of Dorian? Why is this happening? And the answer to that question is simply this. It's very clear for me that we've not done enough in tackling what I consider the underlying risk drivers. So we have been working, we have been developing strategies, we have been developing policies, we've been developing laws, we've been training. And so in that regard, we have made some advancements. But if we're truly going to be successful in treating with this issue of natural hazards impact, which we're so vulnerable to, if we're truly going to be successful in dealing with the specter of climate change,
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
the economic impact of natural disasters in our region has been huge, exceeding $22 billion in constant United States currency over that period of 1950 to 2016, according to the IMF, compared to US $58 billion annually throughout the world. Natural disasters have 10 times a greater adverse impact on the people in small states when compared to those of larger states. According to the United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction, resilience reflects the ability of a system, community, or society exposed to hazards to resist, absorb, accommodate, adapt to, transform, and recover from the effects of the hazard in a timely and efficient manner, including through the preservation and restoration of essential basic structures and functions through risk management. In the aftermath of the devastating impacts of Hurricanes Irma and Maria in 2017, the heads of government of CARICOM states, in recognizing the elusive nature of the defining resilience within the development context, requested SEDIMA to further define resilience from a CARICOM perspective. In doing so, SEDIMA worked collaboratively with its participating states and regional partners to elaborate the Caribbean Resilience Framework, which was adopted by our heads of government in July last year. This identifies 5 resilience pillars. 1, social protection for the marginal and most vulnerable among our people. Secondly, safeguarding infrastructure. Thirdly, enhancing economic opportunity. Fourthly, environmental protection. And last but not least, operational readiness and recovery. The resilience pathway provides a means of directing national and international investments towards building the resilience of our Caribbean nations. For the Caribbean, resilience therefore also connotes being able to bounce forward quickly in a manner that reduces susceptibility, increased liability to additional harm, to the impact of the same hazard. Resilience ensures that lives and livelihoods are protected and assets safeguarded. In that context, resilience also includes mitigation to minimize the impacts of hazards and embodies an ability to respond to the hazards which threaten our region. In discussing the theme, Safeguarding Our Future, Transforming and Reinventing the Resilient Development Paradigm, we are challenging ourselves to protect our region from the worst effects of a disaster by radically changing our development model in a way which allows us to bounce forward in the aftermath of hazard events. It is within that context that I wish to share what I will term the resilience FACTS facts. First, strength safeguarding our future, transforming and reinventing the resilient development paradigm demands that small island developing states like ours need to be fearless. I wish to demonstrate through the resilience pillar of enhancing economic opportunities what I mean. Many Caribbean states face challenges at the macroeconomic level, including huge indebtedness and low productivity and competitiveness. The Caribbean Development Bank, in its regional economic summary last year, states that debt as a percentage of GDP decreased in 13 borrowing member countries, although the ratio continued to exceed the international benchmark of 60% in 11 of our countries. Competitiveness is hampered by high energy and labor costs and by the slow pace of regional integration, which limits the market size and economies of scale for business. In addition, many of our Caribbean economies have a narrow productive base with a heavy dependence on the services sector, especially on tourism. This is more challenging in times of disaster when primary natural and man-made assets are destroyed and the supporting infrastructure for service delivery needs significant recovery time. Resilience efforts are undermined by the dependence on a single economic earner, which graduation into the category of middle-income countries significantly impacts on the eligibility of many of our Caribbean countries to access development financing. The reality is that overall there is a deficit in implementation, which suggests the need to strengthen our capacities within the public service to facilitate implementation. Within this context of setting national priorities for building resilience, it is not an option. It's not an option that we have to set national priorities for building resilience. It demands that our small island developing states need to be fearless in the articulation of development priorities and fearless in the representation of critical issues which face us. This includes presenting an apologetically unapologetically united small island development states front in support of the position that our gross domestic product is not a sufficient basis upon which eligibility for development funding for the benefit of the future sustainability of our people from international agencies, which are to a large measure controlled by developed nations, should be determined. Furthermore, it is long past true that there be a paradigm shift in the existing global order. The debt trap in which the vast majority of our Caribbean islands have found ourselves has severely impacted on our capacity to consistently improve the quality of lives for the majority of our people, particularly by way of their educational advancement, healthcare in relation to non-communicable diseases, which are so prevalent among our citizens, and the standard of their housing. Those countries which owe their current developmental advancement and economic global primacy largely to the historical reality of having been the colonial powers of countries in the Caribbean and Latin America, Africa and Asia, and which in the past centuries systematically underdeveloped our ancestors and as colonies, what are our relatively new sovereign states, have an overriding moral duty to reorient the global financial construct by writing off some of our unsustainable international debt and by investing in the educational development and health security of our people. We are always, of course, grateful to what the more developed countries give us, but we cannot really advance unless there's a fundamental reform of the international order. May it take time, but it will not, in terms of sustaining the future of our country.